I never thought I'd swing a sledgehammer at my own front door, but there I was, sweat dripping down my back under the relentless Texas sun, the tool heavy in my calloused hands like an extension of the rage boiling inside me. My wife, Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, fresh off a 9-month deployment chasing pirates in the Gulf of Aden, stood beside me in her starched whites, her eyes wide not with fear, but with that same fire she'd had when she shipped out. Except now, it was aimed at the nosy bitch across the street who just tried to have her arrested for trespassing on her own damn property. And the cops? Those blue-uniformed idiots had rolled up with lights flashing, hands on their holsters, ready to cuff a decorated naval officer, because Karen Whitaker, our H.O., a president and self-appointed queen of Willow Creek Estates, whispered sweet lies into the dispatcher's ear about an intruder in tactical gear. It started with a single misplaced flower pot. Hers, not even ours, but by the time the sirens wailed, it had spiraled into a neighborhood witch hunt that exposed every petty grudge in our cul-de-sac like a bad reality TV episode. Sarah had barely kissed me hello, her sea salt scent still clinging to her skin, when Karen stormed over, heels clicking like gunfire on the pavement, demanding we remove the eyesore before it lowered property values. I laughed it off at first. Hell, I'd miss my wife so much I'd have let the whole damn HOA burn if it meant one more night with her. But Karen didn't laugh. She dialed 911 right there on our lawn, her voice all honeyed outrage, painting Sarah as some vagrant squatter in camo. The officers arrived in under 5 minutes, and instead of welcoming home a hero, they treated her like a suspect, barking orders while Karen smirked from her porch like she'd just won the lottery. What followed was a masterclass in suburban warfare, the kind that turns picket fences into battle lines and potlucks into interrogations. I'd always prided myself on being the live-and-let-live guy, the veteran mechanic who fixed neighbors' transmissions for free and grill burgers at block parties without a single complaint. But watching those cops nod along to Karen's bullshit, ignoring Sarah's ID and her deployment papers flashing in the sunlight, snapped something deep in my gut. This wasn't just about a flower pot anymore. It was about respect, about the blood and sweat Sarah had poured into serving this country while Karen sat in her corner office at Technova Solutions, playing tyrant in her off hours. By the time the cruisers peeled out, after a stern warning to us for disturbing the peace, I knew payback wasn't optional. It was inevitable, and damn if it didn't feel good to finally swing that hammer. The dust from the gravel driveway still hung in the air like a bad omen when Sarah finally collapsed onto the worn leather couch in our living room, her boots kicked off haphazardly by the coffee table stacked with unopened mail from the last 9 months. Willow Creek Estates was the kind of place that screamed American dream on a good day. Manicured lawns clipped to surgical precision, colonial-style McMansions with 3-car garages and enough American flags flapping in a breeze to make you think you'd stumbled into a 4th of July parade. We bought our slice of it 5 years ago, right after Sarah's first big tour, figuring it'd be the perfect spot to start a family once her deployments eased up. Little did we know, the real enemy wasn't lurking in some distant ocean. It was hiding behind lace curtains, armed with bylaws and a grudge the size of Texas. I grabbed 2 cold Shiner Box from the fridge, the glass sweating in the AC's chill, and handed one to her. To homecomings that don't involve felony charges, I toasted, clinking bottles. Sarah's laugh was tired but real, the kind that crinkled the corners of her hazel eyes and made the dimples in her cheeks pop. The ones I'd traced with my thumb 1,000 times during late-night video calls from her bunk on the USS Eisenhower. God, Jake, I missed this. Missed you. Missed not having to salute every asshole in a polo shirt. She took a long pull, then set the bottle down, her gaze drifting to the window where Karen's house loomed like a judgmental sentinel. Whitaker Manor, as she called it in her passive-aggressive emails, was a beige monstrosity 2 stories tall, festooned with solar panels and a no-soliciting sign that might as well have read, "No fun allowed." I sank down beside her, my arms slipping around her shoulders, pulling her close enough to feel the steady rhythm of her breathing syncing with mine. She's always been a piece of work, but this, calling the cops on you, that's next level unhinged. Sarah nodded, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing the dog tags tucked under her collar. I get it. HOA life's not for everyone. But accusing me of breaking and entering in uniform? That's not petty. That's pathological. She paused, her voice dropping. One of the guys on the ship lost his sister last month. IED in Kabul. And here I am, stateside, getting grilled like I'm a threat. The words hit like a gut punch. I'd seen that look on her face before. After the close calls, the letters from home about friends who didn't make it back. Sarah was tough as nails, a surface warfare officer who'd commanded her own division by 28. But the home front? That was supposed to be the safe zone, not a battlefield of busybodies and blue loss. We spent the evening unpacking her gear, the living room filling with the faint brine smell of the sea clinging to her sea bags. I fired up the grill out back, slapping on ribeyes marinated in Worcestershire and garlic, the welcome home ritual we'd perfected over years of goodbyes and hellos. Neighbors trickled by as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink. Old Mr. Hargrove from next door waved his cane, hollering about how Sarah's stories from the drink always beat his Vietnam yarns. Even Tina from down the block stopped by with a Tupperware of her famous pecan pie, her eyes misty as she hugged Sarah like a long-lost daughter. But not everyone was rolling out the red carpet. As the fireflies started their nightly dance, I spotted Karen's silhouette on her upstairs balcony, binoculars in hand. Yes, actual binoculars, scanning our yard like she was CIA on a stakeout. Subtle as a brick, I muttered, flipping the stakes. Sarah caught my glare and shrugged. Let her watch. I've faced down Houthi speedboats. One winebox mom with a vendetta ain't gonna ruin my steak. Dinner was perfect, juicy meat, baked beans from a can, because who has time for fancy after deployment, and Sarah recounting tales of rogue waves and midnight poker games in the wardroom. We laughed until our sides hurt, the kind of laughter that stitches up the frayed edges of absence. By midnight, tangled in sheets that still smelled like her lavender body wash from before she left, I thought maybe we'd dodge the bullet. Maybe Karen would slink back to her spreadsheet kingdom and leave us be. Boy, was I wrong. The next morning hit like a hangover without the fun. I was elbow deep in the engine bay of my F-150, tuning it up for the weekend drive to Sarah's folks in Austin, when the first email pinged my phone. Subject, urgent, violation notice, landscape noncompliance. Sender, Quitaker at willowcreekoa.org. I wiped the grease on my rag and opened it, my blood pressure spiking with every bullet point. Unauthorized placement of potted plant encroaching on common area. Potential hazard to pedestrian traffic, elderly residents. Immediate removal required within 24 hours or fines will be assessed, $50 per day. Attached was a photo, grainy, zoomed in, of that damn flower pot. It wasn't even ours. It had rolled over from Karen's yard during a storm last week, and I'd shoved it back toward her side out of sheer laziness. But there it was, evidence in her kangaroo court. Sarah, nursing coffee in her PT gear, peered over my shoulder. A flower pot. This is what she's latching onto. Worse, I said, scrolling down. CC'd the whole board. And get this, recent disturbances, including unauthorized gatherings post, 10 p.m., noted. That's our barbecue, Sarah. The one with pie and flags. Her jaw tightened, that officer steel creeping into her posture. Fine, we'll move the pot. But if she wants war, she's got one. We hauled the thing to the curb that afternoon. A ridiculous terracotta number with wilted marigolds that looked more sad than sinister. I even hosed it off for good measure, stacking it neatly by Karen's mailbox with a note. Found this wanderer. Safe travels back home. Petty? Hell yes. But after yesterday's circus, it felt like a white flag laced with just enough snark to sting. Karen emerged like clockwork, her Lexus hybrid purring into the driveway as she returned from whatever boardroom bloodbath she ruled by day. CEO of Technova Solutions, purveyor of cloud software for mid-sized firms. Big title, bigger ego. She was the type who wore pencil skirts to PDA meetings and live, laugh, love signs unironically. Her blonde bob helmet perfect, smile sharp as a switchblade. Spotting the pot, she froze mid-stride, then marched over, heels sinking into the grass. "Mr. Hayes," she trilled, voice pitched like a PDA mom negotiating bake sale slots. "I see you've returned my property. How thoughtful. Though I must say, the drama yesterday was entirely unnecessary." I leaned against the porch rail, arms crossed, Sarah flanking me in her Navy tank, fresh from a run. "Drama? You mean the part where you sicked the cops on my wife for standing on our lawn?" Karen's eyes flicked to Sarah, appraising her like a knockoff purse at a flea market. "Lieutenant Hayes, is it? Welcome home. But rules are rules. We can't have service members disrupting the peace just because they've been away." Sarah's laugh was low, dangerous. "Disrupting? Ma'am, I just spent 9 months keeping tankers safe from missiles. A flower pot's not exactly a WMD." Karen's smile didn't budge, but her knuckles whitened on her designer tote. "Semantics. The point is compliance. Willow Creek prides itself on standards. And frankly, after your little display last night, I've had complaints." "Complaints?" I barked a laugh. "From who? The squirrels?" "From residents concerned about noise ordinances. And security." She straightened, pulling out her phone like a talisman. "I've already documented this exchange. For the record, that's when it escalated." Sarah stepped forward, voice calm, but edged like a bayonet. "Document away, Karen. But next time you call 911 on a veteran, maybe fact-check first. Or better yet, thank her for her service instead of treating her like a criminal." The air crackled, thick with unspoken Texas heat. Karen's face flushed, mildly, because God forbid she crack her facade, but her eyes narrowed to slits. "Threats won't fly here, Lieutenant. I suggest you read the covenants. Page 47, section on respectful discourse." She spun on her heel, pot in tow, retreating to her fortress. Sarah shook her head, muttering, "Page 47? Who hurt you, lady?" We thought that was the end of round 2. But as I fired up the truck for our Austin run, my phone buzzed again. This time, a group text from the HOA chat. 50 residents strong, blaring. "Emergency meeting tonight, addressing recent incidents of non-compliance and safety concerns." Posted by, you guessed it, Kay Whitaker. The drive to Sarah's parents was a blur of highway and heart-to-hearts, her hand on my knee as we dissected the absurdity. "It's not about the pot, Jake," she said, wind whipping through the open window. "It's control. People like her, they thrive on it. Out there, I had a chain of command. Here, it's chaos with covenants." Her folks greeted us like royalty. Hugs, brisket simmering on the stove, stories of Sarah's childhood, scraped knees, and science fair volcanoes. For a few hours, the world shrank to that farmhouse kitchen, all warmth and no warrants. But by Sunday evening, rolling back into Willow Creek under a harvest moon, the texts had piled up. "Support Karen. Protect our values. Who's with me?" I parked in the garage, the engine ticking cool, and squeezed Sarah's hand. "Let him stew. We got bigger fish, like that king bed upstairs." Monday dawned with the grind. Me back at the shop, wrenching on a customer's Mustang while classic rock blared from the radio. Sarah hitting the base for debriefs and paperwork. But by lunch, my buddy Raul from the next bay over was waving his phone. "Dude, your neighborhood's blowing up on Nextdoor. Check this." The post was vintage Karen, a photo of our house, taken from her yard, time-stamped 9:47 p.m. Saturday, with a caption, "Unpermitted outdoor lighting and gatherings. Safety hazard? Let's discuss at tonight's meeting. Willow Creek strong, community first." Comments flooded in, supportive of our president, from some ghost account. As a mother of 3, I worry about the example. And then, the gut twister, heard it's military-related. Respect the uniform, but rules apply to all. Concerned vet. Sarah called me from the PX, voice tight. "Jake, she's rallying them against us. Like we're the enemy at the gates." "She's a bully with a badge," I growled, slamming a socket down harder than intended. "But tonight, we show up. We fight fair." The community center smelled like stale coffee and desperation, fluorescent lights buzzing over folding chairs arranged in a semicircle. About 30 residents milled about. Hargrove nursing a styrofoam cup, Tina fiddling with her phone, a cluster of Karens in training whispering behind wine glasses. Karen held court at the front, projector humming behind her, slides titled, "Preserving Our Paradise." She launched in with the fervor of a televangelist. Flower pots as gateway violations, barbecues as noise pollution, and a special slide on external influences disrupting harmony, complete with a blurred photo of Sarah's truck, license plate blacked out. When she opened the floor, I shot up first. "This is bullshit, Karen. My wife's a Navy officer, fresh home from deployment. You call the cops on her. On our property. That's not harmony. That's harassment." Murmurs rippled. Hargrove grunted agreement. But Karen was quick, her smile a laser. "Jake, emotions run high after separations. But facts, your event exceeded quiet hours. Witnesses confirm." "Witnesses?" Sarah stood, uniform crisp, even after a day of briefings. "You mean your binoculars brigade? Look, I appreciate the community spirit, but weaponizing 911 against a service member? That's not American. That's embarrassing." The room split. Claps from our corner, hisses from hers. Tina spoke up. "Karen, honey, ease up. Sarah's one of us." But the diehards piled on. Rules are rules. Property values. It devolved into chaos. Raised voices, pointing fingers, someone spilling Chardonnay on the bylaws binder. Karen adjourned early, face pinched, promising action via email. As we filed out, she cornered me in the hall, whisper hiss. "This isn't over, Mr. Hayes. Willow Creek doesn't tolerate rabble-rousers." "Neither do we." I shot back. "Touch my family again, and you'll learn what real disruption looks like." That night, Sarah and I lay awake, ceiling fan whirring overhead. "What's her endgame?" she murmured. "Power. Always power." I rolled toward her, kissing her forehead. But we're not backing down. Little did I know, Karen's next move would drag us into the deep end and pull half the neighborhood under with her. Tuesday brought the kind of blue sky perfection that makes you forget Texas humidity exists, but the chill in Willow Creek was bone deep. I dropped Sarah at the base gates, her kiss lingering like a promise, then headed to Hayes Auto Repair, the shop I'd built from a one-bay shed into a six-stall operation specializing in vintage rides and fleet work. The clang of tools and rumble of engines usually drown out everything. But today, my mind looped on Karen's parting shot, her eyes promising payback sharper than a torque wrench. Raul, my right-hand grease monkey since high school, clocked my mood the second I popped the hood on a '72 Chevelle. Trouble in paradise, Jeef? Or just that H.O., a harpy again? I grunted, loosening a rusted bolt. Worse, she's turning the whole block against us. Posted our house on Nextdoor like we're meth lab operators. He whistled low, wiping his hands on a shop rag. "Karen Whitaker?" "Yeah. My cousin in accounting says she's a terror at Technova. Sued a vendor last year over a late invoice. Woman's got more lawsuits than friends." That stuck with me through the afternoon rush. Oil changes, alignments, a quick break job on the school bus route. By quitting time, I drafted a counterpost for the neighborhood app. Polite but pointed. Appreciate the concern for harmony, but let's not forget who keeps the lights on overseas. Welcome home, heroes. Sarah texted thumbs up from her OCS prep session, adding a fire emoji that made me grin despite the knot in my stomach. Home was quiet when I pulled in. The driveway empty save for that damn pot, now perched like a trophy on Karen's stoop. Sarah beat me there, showered and in civvies, jeans and a Ranger's tee that hugged her like it missed her too. She was at the kitchen island, laptop open, scrolling what looked like public records. "Researching our foe?" I asked, pecking her cheek and raiding the fridge for leftovers. "Something like that." She spun the screen. Karen's LinkedIn, all glossy headshots and buzzwords like disruptive innovation leader and champion of ethical governance. Turns out Technova's got a diversity push. Big on inclusion initiatives. Ironic, huh? I forked into cold brisket, chewing thoughtfully. You thinking leverage? Not revenge. Accountability. Her eyes sparkled, that tactical mind whirring. If she's violating her own company's code, say, by discriminating against a veteran, maybe a polite CC to HR does the trick. We brainstormed over IPAs, mapping it like a mission brief. Document the 911 call, body cam footage request pending. Compile HOA emails, flag the next door smear. It felt proactive, not paranoid, turning her weapon against her. By bedtime, the email draft was locked. Factual, firm, copied to Technova's ethics hotline. Send tomorrow, Sarah said, yawning. After I run it by Jag. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with sirens and sledgehammers. Wednesday morning, I woke to Sarah's side cold. She caught an early flight to Norfolk for a follow-up eval. Her note on the counter, love you. Stay frosty. I pocketed it like a talisman, heading to the shop where the real storm was brewing. It started with a pickup, Mrs. Ellis from 3 doors down, her minivan idling out front as I torqued the last lug nut. Jake, honey, she said, sliding down the window. I hate to pry, but Karen's calling another vote. Emergency Bylaws Amendment. Temporary restraining measures for disruptive properties. My wrench slipped, clanging the fender. Disruptive? That's us. She nodded, guilty flush on her cheeks. It's targeted. Says it's for short-term rentals and unauthorized events. But everyone knows. I straightened, wiping sweat with my forearm. Everyone knows it's a hit job on Sarah. On me, for calling her out. Mrs. Ellis fidgeted, glancing at her dash clock. Hargrove's fighting it. Tina too. But Karen's got the board in her pocket. Promises them perks like wave dues. The drive home was a red haze blur, radio forgotten as I replayed every concession I'd made. The pot, the quiet grill-outs, biting my tongue at block parties when she'd nitpick my truck's mud flaps. By the time I hit Willow Creek's wrought iron gates, yes, actual gates, because nothing says community like a barrier, my tires crunched gravel harder than necessary. Karen's war council was in full swing on her front lawn. Folding tables laden with store-bought cookies, a sign-up sheet flapping in the breeze, a dozen lemmings nodding along to her TED Talk on proactive peacekeeping. She spotted me idling at the curb and waved me over like I was late to her coronation. Jake, join us. We're brainstorming solutions. I killed the engine, stepping out in oil-stained jeans and boots, feeling every eye on me like spotlights. Solutions? Or sanctions? Her laugh tinkled, forced. Semantics again. Please have a cookie. Oatmeal raisin, low-cal. I ignored the platter, arms crossed. Cut the crap, Karen. This amendment. It's a backdoor eviction notice. For what? A barbecue? Murmurs stirred. A guy in khakis, new transplant, probably shifted uncomfortably. Karen pressed on, undeterred. It's for the greater good. Your activities have led to complaints. Elevated stress levels in the community. Stress. I barked, volume rising. Lady, my wife's stress was dodging RPGs in the Arabian Sea. Yours is a crooked mailbox. The khakis guy chuckled. Nerves or agreement? Hard to tell, drawing glares from the faithful. Karen's facade cracked, just a hair. Lips pursed, eyes darting to her phone. This is precisely why we need structure. Emotional outbursts undermine trust. Trust. I step closer, voice low thunder. You called the cops on a returning vet. That's not trust. That's treason in suburbia. The lawn went pin-drop silent, cookies forgotten. Hargrove, parked on a lawn chair with his thermos, piped up, boys right. I fought an so y'all could grill without a goddamn permit. Applause trickled. Hargrove's crew, Tina's book club, swelling against the awkward coughs. Karen flushed beet red, snatching her clipboard. Meeting adjourned. Vote tomorrow via email. Thank you. As the crowd dispersed, she hissed at me. Close enough, I smelled her Chanel No. 5 mixed with spite. You're making a mistake, Jake. I have connections. The board, the city council. Hell, even your precious police chief golfs with my husband. Threats now. I leaned in, unflinching. Go ahead. Call them. See how many rally for a flower pot fascist. She recoiled like I'd spat, stalking inside. I drove the 50 feet home, adrenaline buzzing, only to find my driveway blocked by a yellow ticket fluttering under the wiper. Vehicle noncompliance. Excessive tinting. Fine, $250. Willow Creek Patrol. Patrol? We didn't have a patrol. Just Karen's busybody brigade with clipboards and chips on their shoulders. I crumpled it, tossing it in the glove box, and fired off a text to Sarah. Lawn ambush. Vote incoming. Your email draft. Send it. Her reply pinged instant. On it. Jag cleared. Also pack my service pistol. Kidding. Mostly. Love you. Thursday blurred into damage control. Shop steady with a rush of alignments. Folks prepping for the state fair. But my phone a minefield of next-door notifications. The tide was turning. Posts like support the haze. Heroes not hazards blue star homes. Gaining traction. Shares from base families who'd caught wind via Sarah's command network. Tina damned me a leaked board email. Karen pushing the amendment hard, dangling exclusive vendor discounts for yes votes. But Karen wasn't done playing dirty. That evening, as I grilled chicken for one, Sarah's flight delayed by weather, I heard the crunch of tires. Not a cruiser, but a sleek black Tahoe, city plates. Out stepped Councilman Perry, paunchy in a polo, extending a hand like we were old pals. Jake Hayes? Heard there's some. Friction in Willow Creek. I flipped abreast, smoke curling up. Friction? Try felony false report. But sure, pull up a chair. He declined the offer, perching on the porch step instead. Look, Karen's a constituent. Big donor. Says you're agitating. HOA disputes are civil, but if it escalates. Escalates. I set the tongs down hard. She called 911 on my wife, a Navy lieutenant, for a pot. Cops followed her lead. That's not civil. That's criminal. Perry shifted, loosening his collar. Miscommunication. But the chief mentioned a wellness check. Nothing malicious. Malicious enough to scare a vet half to death. I pulled out my phone, queuing the body cam request email. It's public record. You want malicious? Wait till Technova's board sees her inclusion in action. His eyes widened, recognition flickering. Technova? You know Greg Whitaker. Know of him. And her. CEO by day, cop caller by night. Perry stood, brushing invisible lint. I'll look into it. Keep it neighborly, yeah? He left with a nod that felt more warning than wisdom. I texted Sarah the play-by-play. Her response, a voice note. Breathy laugh over airport din councilman sweating? Good. Votes in 2 hours. I'm live streaming from here if needed. The email vote dropped at 8 p.m. sharp. Karen's missive a masterpiece of manipulation. For the safety of our children, our elders, vote yes on Amendment 23. Counters poured in. Hargrove's hell, no. Tina's this is un-American. But the yes ticked up. Bots or bullies hard to tell. By 10, results, 52% yes. Amendment passes. Temporary measures. No gatherings over 10 people. Noise curfew at 8 p.m. HOA approval for vehicles over 10 years old. Mine included. Rage boiled as I paced the kitchen. Sarah's face on FaceTime from a Norfolk hotel. It's symbolic, she soothed. We fight it legally. Symbolic my ass. I slammed a cabinet. She's winning. Then we hit harder. Her voice steel. Technova email sent. And I tipped off the local vet org. American Legions sniffing around. Commercial? Hayes Auto was miles away. I tore it open. Photos of my truck, grease rags in the bed. Improper storage of work materials. Fine, $500. Signed, K. Whitaker, authorized agent. She'd weaponized the city code, twisting my mobile toolkit into a business hazard. I laughed bitter, dialing Sarah. Your move, counselor. Her reply, already drafting countersuit. But Jake, get the sledgehammer ready. Saturday morning cracked open like a fault line, the kind that swallows whole towns in seismic revenge. Sarah's red eye landed at 6 a.m., her duffel thumping the porch as she burst in, eyes blazing brighter than the dawn, streaking through the blinds. Flight was hell, turbulence and bad coffee, but I'm here, and I got ammo. We commandeered the dining table as command central, laptops humming, printers whirring out affidavits. Her JAG contacts looped in via encrypted chat. The countersuit was a beauty, defamation, false reporting, intentional infliction of emotional distress, with exhibits tabbed like a court-martial dossier. We file Monday, she said, highlighter in teeth. But today, we rally. The American Legion post was a squat brick bunker off I-35, smelling of gun oil and instant coffee. Walls papered with faded unit photos and support our troops banners. Post Commander Ruiz, a grizzled Korean War vet with a handshake like a vice, greeted Sarah with a salute that nearly cracked his aviators. Lieutenant, heard about your welcome wagon. Bush League. Within an hour, we'd commandeered their meeting room for a Willow Creek Solidarity barbecue. Flyers blasted to every vet network in a 50-mile radius. Word spread wildfire. Facebook groups for military spouses. Reddits are /HO nightmares. Even a local news tip line sniffing scandal. By noon, our backyard was ground zero. Coolers iced with lone stars. Smoker belching brisket smoke that wafted tauntingly toward Karen's fence. Hargrove arrived first, cane thumping, thermos in tow. Brought my Purple Heart. Figured it'd shut up the snowflakes. Tina rolled in with her minivan brigade. Moms and kids in tow, coolers bulging with sides. Raoul and his crew from the shop hauled in cornhole sets and a Bluetooth speaker blasting Toby Keith. Even Councilman Perry slunk by, beer in hand, mumbling about reconsideration. Sarah worked the crowd like a pro. Handshakes, hugs, stories of shipboard life that had jaws dropping and eyes misting. 9 months at sea, she'd say, voice steady. And the biggest threat back home? A CEO with a grudge. Laughter rippled, then applause, phones capturing every patriotic punch. I manned the grill, flipping burgers with a spatula that felt like Excalibur, sweat beading under my Astros cap. The air hummed electric, 80 souls strong, surpassing the amendment's limit just to twist the knife. Next door lit up. Illegal gathering at Hayes, countered by Stand with Heroes. Karen's house stayed shuttered, but her Tesla crept out mid-afternoon, inching past like a shark scenting blood. By golden hour, the news van rolled up, KXN Action 7, mic flags waving. Reporter Lena Vasquez, sharpened blazer and boots, cornered Sarah on the lawn. Lieutenant Hayes, walk us through the 911 call. Sarah didn't flinch, uniform swapped for a simple blouse that screamed every woman warrior. I step off the truck after deploying to the hottest hotspots, and I'm met with sirens. Because a flower pot rolled 2 feet. It's absurd. It's insulting. And it's un-American. Cut to me, grease-smeared and grinning. Karen Whitaker, Technova CEO, thinks bylaws trump the Constitution. We're here to remind her, heroes don't salute tyrants. The piece aired at 6 p.m., a 3-minute gut punch. Body cam snippets, approved release. Karen's stonewalling non-response. Interviews with vets calling it a disgrace to the flag. Twitter, X, exploded. Karen called 9/11 trending locally, memes of flower pots with cop cars, shared from Naval accounts that reached Sarah's CEO. Sunday was scorched earth. Technova's PR meltdown hit my inbox first. Forward from an anonymous board member. Internal review initiated executive conduct. Then the HOA board convened an emergency Zoom, leaked by Tina. Karen screaming, defectors bailing, vote to table Amendment 23 passing 7-3. But victory's a tease in vendetta season. I was pressure washing the driveway, suds swirling into the gutter, when Karen's husband Greg rolled up in his golf polo, face thunderous. Jake, a word. Greg Whitaker was the softer edge. Divorce attorney turned country club fixture, paunch testing his belt, smile practice for depositions. This has gone too far. Karen's. Upset. I hosed a stubborn oil spot, water arcing high. Tried devastated. Your driveway's got claw marks from her rage fits. He winced, glancing at her darkened windows. Look, she's under pressure. Technova's breathing down her neck. Ethics probe, stock dip from the bad press. The board wants her head. I shut off the washer, coiling the hose with deliberate slowness. Boo-hoo. She started this. 911 on my wife, fake fines, smear campaigns. Now she reaps the whirlwind. Greg's jaw worked, lawyer mode kicking in. Off the record, she's cracking. Therapy, meds, the works. But sue us and it gets ugly. Community splits, values tank. Values? I laugh cold. Yours or the one Sarah defended overseas? He deflated, shoulders slumping. Just call off the dogs. For the neighborhood. I nodded toward the house, where Sarah watched from the kitchen window, arms crossed. Tell your wife. Drop the probe on us, withdraw the amendment formally, and maybe we pause the Legion's petition drive. Otherwise, see you in court. He drove off, taillights fading, and Sarah joined me, linking arms. Think he'll deliver? Doesn't matter. We've got momentum. Monday's filings were poetry. Clerk's office buzzing as we stamped the suit. Copies express mailed to Tech Nova and the DA. By lunch, my shop phone rang off the hook. Tips, support, even a job offer from a vet-owned garage chain. Raoul high-fived me over a carburetor. You're viral, man. Sledgehammer Jake. The nickname stuck from a throwaway line in the interview. Me joking about tearing down the HOA walls if needed. Ex-users ran with it. Edits of me wielding Thor's hammer on picket fences. But the real hammer dropped that afternoon. Karen's resignation email to the HOA list, terse and tear-streaked. Effective immediately, I stepped down as president. Personal reasons. Best to Willow Creek. Cheers erupted in group chats. Beers cracked in backyards. Tina texted champagne emojis. Hargrove called. Voice gravel. About time. Now grill legal. We celebrated low-key. Steak tacos on the patio. Sarah's playlist of Springsteen and Sturgill Simpson humming low. To bitter ends, she toasted, clinking her margarita to my beer. But bitterness lingers, fermented slow. Tuesday brought the backlash. Anonymous letters in the mail, traitors. Slashed tires on Tina's van, cops called, no leads, whispers of a Whitaker lawsuit counter. Tech Nova suspended Karen pending investigation. Press release polite as a pink slip. Greg filed for separation that week, citing irreconcilable differences in the Austin American Statesman Society page. She didn't go quiet. Late-night drives past our house, headlights sweeping like searchlights. A final next-door post, deleted but screenshotted. They ruined me. But karma's a bitch. Controversial? Hell yes. Sparked threads on vet privilege, HOA rights, gender wars in suburbia. Pundits on local AM radio debated it for days. Is calling out a Karen punching down? Calls flooded the station, pro-vet lines jammed. Sarah and I tuned it out, focusing on normalcy. Her transition classes at the base, my shop expansion plans, weekend hikes in the hill country where cell service died and covenants couldn't touch us. But the scar tissue itched, trust fractured, neighbors eyed sideways. One night, 3 weeks post-resignation, I found the sledgehammer in the garage, still dusty from that impulsive swing at the air. Never the door, thank God. I hefted it, feeling the weight of what-ifs. Sarah wrapped arms around me from behind. Put it down, cowboy. We won. Did we? I set it aside, turning into her. Or just traded one battle for echoes? She kissed me, fierce. Echoes fade. We echo louder. Wednesday's mail brought the settlement offer. Tech Nova's check for $50,000, NDA attached, Karen's signature shaky. We signed, donated half to the Legion Scholarship Fund. The rest? A down payment on a cabin plot outside city limits. No HOAs, just hills and horizon. Karen vanished after that. Rumors of a Phoenix relocation, therapy retreat, or quiet divorce firing. Her house went on the market. Motivated seller in the listing. We bought it, flipped the beige to sage green, tore out the solar panels for a wildflower meadow. The pot. We kept it, replanted with poppies. Red as poppies in Flanders fields, a nod to fights bigger than fences. But victory's Pyrrhic, laced with the what could have beens. Sarah's nightmares spiked, sirens morphing to HOA horns, until we adopted a rescue mutt, Buster, who barks at shadows but sleeps between us like a furry DMZ. I still check next door, half expecting her ghost account to haunt the feed. In the end, the cops never followed her orders again. Chief's apology letter framed in the shop, a reminder that badges bend but don't break easy. And me? I learned revenge isn't the hammer swing. It's the quiet rebuild after the dust settles. Bitter for her, maybe, but for us? It's the story we tell at barbecues, hooked sharp enough to snag the next generation. Don't mess with a vet's homecoming, or the man who guards it. Months blurred into the easy rhythm of reclaimed normalcy. But Willow Creek's wounds festered subtle. like a splinter you ignore until infection sets in. Fall turned the oaks gold, state fair lights twinkling distant, and our cul-de-sac settled into an uneasy truce. Barbecues bolder, covenants whispered instead of wielded. Sarah threw herself into transition life. Guest lectures at UT's RDC, volunteering with Wounded Warrior runs, her laugh freer now, unshadowed by deployment ghosts or Karen's glare. Me? The shop thrived, viral fame, pulling custom jobs from Houston hotshots restoring 60s muscle cars. Raul promoted a foreman with a raise that bought his girl a ring. We hosted the neighborhood's first unofficial Halloween bash. No permits, just pumpkins carved into Liberty bells and skeletons in fatigues, kids in capes racing through fog machines while parents swapped war stories over esmores. Hargrove donned his old helmet, dispensing candy with gruff wisdom. Trick or treat? Life's the trick, service is the treat. Tina's crew dominated the pie contest, her apple crumble edging my jalapeno cornbread in a vote rigged with laughter. Even the khakis guy, Mark, it turned out, showed with his labradoodle, nursing a shiner and admitting, Karen scared me straight. You too. Heroes. But heroes bleed ink on fine print. The countersuit dragged into winter, depositions in a fluorescent-lit conference room downtown, where Karen appeared like a specter, hair limp, pantsuit hanging loose, voice a monotone drone through her lawyer's filters. I acted in good faith, she claimed, eyes averted from Sarah's steady gaze across the table. Community standards demanded intervention. Sarah's testimony was fire. Good faith? You profiled me. Uniform, deployment tan, suspicious duffel. If I'd been a white guy in khakis, it'd be a handshake, not handcuffs. The room tensed. Her attorney objected, but the seed planted, bias, the unspoken elephant in every HOA horror story. JAG advisors nodded from a gallery, prepping amicus briefs from vet orgs. Technova's probe leaked piecemeal. Internal memos citing hostile work environment complained from her direct reports, a pattern of overreach in vendor dealings mirroring her HOA tyranny. By January, the board ousted her, golden parachute clipped to 6-month severance, non-compete barring her from Austin Tech for 2 years. Greg's divorce finalized quiet. Assets split surgical, their manor auctioned to a young couple from California who painted it teal and ripped out the no soliciting sign for a free hugs plaque. The settlement wired mid-February, a cold Tuesday, rain lashing the windows as I balanced the books. Sarah walked in soaked from a trail run, peeling off her jacket to reveal the check stub. $50,000, earmarked for dreams deferred. Cabin fund, she declared, toweling her hair. And a trust for Buster's kibble in case we deploy again. We drove to the hill country that weekend, realtor in tow, scouting parcels where live oaks clawed the sky and creeks babbled without bylaws. The one we fell for was 10 acres of rolling nothing. Solar potential, sure, but no panels mandated. A flat spot for a fire pit. Views to Mexico on clear days. Here, Sarah said, spinning in wild grass, arms wide. No Karens. Just us. Back home, the backlash crested subtle. A brick through Tina's window, scrawled with snitch. Cops chalked it to bored teens, but we knew better. Next door splintered into factions. Willow Creek United versus HOA Reform now. Threads devolving into doxing threats and pie fight polls. Local radio revisited the saga on slow news days. Suburban showdown. When welcome homes go wrong, callers split 60-40 pro haze. The holdouts droning about law and order like Karen scripted their scripts. Sarah's CO pulled strings for a commendation, meritorious service medal for her deployment, pinned in a base ceremony where the commander's speech nodded sly to home front valor. I swelled chest high, polishing her boots that morning, the leather gleaming like resolve. Proud doesn't cover it, I whispered post-ceremony, metal heavy in my palm. Spring thawed the chill. Dogwoods blooming defiant, and Willow Creek exhaled. The new HOA Prez, Hargrove, elected in a landslide, shredded the amendment in his first meeting, bylaws binder consigned to the bonfire. We hosted the Equinox cookout, smoker loaded with ribs, sauce spicy sweet. Neighbors toasting to fences mended. Mark brought his firm's pro bono lawyer, volunteering for reform drafts. Tina's book club morphed into a watchdog group, cul-de-sac sentinels. But echoes persist, insomnia's gift. Nights when thunder rolls, I jolt awake, half expecting sirens, Sarah murmuring, "Just rain," as she pulls me close. The sledgehammer? Mounted in the garage like a museum piece, label, "For walls worth breaking." Raoul jokes it's my throne, but I see it different, a talisman against complacency. Karen resurfaced once, summer's cusp. A postcard from Sedona, script shaky, healing. Sorry. No return address, no apologies teeth. Sarah burned it in the fire pit, ashes scattering on the breeze. Words are cheap. Actions echo. We broke ground on the cabin Labor Day. Me wielding a post-hole digger, Sarah hauling lumber in her truck, tin approved, thank God. The frame rose sturdy, tin roof winking silver, porch wide for swings and stargazing. First night rough in, sleeping bags on subfloor, we cracked a bottle of mezcal, toasting to nothing. No covenants, no calls, just crickets and constellations. Fall looped back, leaves crunching under boots on neighborhood walks, Buster tugging leash toward the old Whitaker lot. Now a community garden, tomatoes twisting where tulips once trembled. Kids plant sunflowers there, tall as centuries, and on deployment anniversaries, Sarah lays a wreath. Poppies red, reminder raw. The story? It circulates still. Podcast dissecting the Karen Chronicles, X threads threading controversy. Was it vigilantism or justice? Backlash or reckoning? Frustration fuels the fire. Vets emailing thanks. HOAs nationwide auditing bylaws post our blueprint. Bitter end for her. Exile, empire crumbled, ego in therapy's vice. For us, bittersweet brew sipped slow. One evening, grill smoking low, Sarah sidles up, arm around my waist. Think we'd change it. I flip the stakes, juice hissing. The fight? Nah. Forged us sharper. She nods, eyes on the horizon where Willow Creek fades to wild. Hooked strong enough for the next chapter. And damn if they aren't. 3 shocks etched eternal. The call, the cuffs, the comeback. In America's heartland sprawl, where dreams clash with deeds, we swing not with hammers, but hope. Unyielding,